What happens when the owner of a hotel chain rides the elevator and hears his guests being insulted by the front desk staff? Wesley Grant couldn't shake the feeling something was off. It had been 8 years since he bought the 18-location boutique hotel chain from a retiring couple in Arizona. Back then, it had been a passion project. He wanted to create welcoming, peaceful stays for travelers at an affordable rate. But lately, complaints were trickling in. Nothing dramatic, just scattered messages about bad service, cold attitudes, and odd manager turnover at the downtown Dallas location. Wesley hated second-hand info. He had never met most of the current staff. The locations were spread across the Southwest and run day-to-day by local managers. The faces changed, especially at the front desks. Hiring had been tough lately, with hospitality workers burnt out after years of high stress and low pay. Turnover was steep. Wesley had relied too long on reports from district managers. So he packed a duffel bag, grew out his beard, got a pair of thick glasses, and booked 3 nights at the Dallas hotel under the name Illy Morgan. His assistant made the reservation through a third-party site. No one there knew his face. He wanted to see what the guests saw. He entered the hotel late on a humid Thursday night. The lobby was clean but strangely quiet. A young woman behind the front desk barely looked up. "Name?" she asked flatly. "Illy Morgan," Wesley said, adjusting his glasses. "Third-party booking," she mumbled. "Check-in's at 3. "It's 8:30, you're way early." "I know," he said calmly. "I was just hoping to leave my bag, storage's full, can't help you." She didn't make eye contact. He stood there for a second. "All right," he said quietly. The woman didn't respond. Wesley walked out with his bag. He found a coffee shop down the block and waited until check-in. When he returned, a different woman was at the desk. She was bright-eyed, warm. "Welcome to our hotel, Mr. Morgan," she said with a smile. "We've got your room ready early. Let me take your bag." Wesley blinked. "Thanks." "That's really kind of you." "No problem at all," she said, her name tag read Rachel Greer. Wesley nodded. "You've already made the place feel better," she smiled, a little embarrassed. "That's the goal." Upstairs, the room was decent, clean, nothing fancy. He opened his notebook and jotted down, "Rachel equals good, blonde girl equals cold." The next morning, Wesley lingered in the lobby. He sat in one of the armchairs near the elevator, pretending to scroll on his phone. Around 10, a middle-aged couple walked in pulling suitcases. "Hi," the man said cheerfully. "We're checking in. Name's Derek Hughes." The same woman from the night before. He could now see her tag. Kelsey was behind the desk. Her arms were crossed. "Check-in isn't until 3, that's standard." "I know," Derek said. "We were just wondering if maybe one of the rooms was ready." "I said it's not until 3. Kelsey didn't even look at the screen. His wife tried to smile. "We've been traveling since 5 this morning. Is there anywhere we could sit for a while?" Kelsey sighed. "There's chairs." "You're not the only ones traveling." Wesley stood up slowly. He stepped into the elevator as the couple sat down nearby, the wife whispering, "Wow," under her breath. He rode to the 4th floor, heart pounding. Back in his room, he scribbled furiously in his notebook. "Kelsey, rude again." "No empathy." Rachel opposite energy. He called the front desk. Rachel answered. "Hi, I'm wondering if I can get extra towels," he asked. "Of course, I'll bring them up personally," she said. 2 minutes later, she knocked. Wesley opened the door. "Thanks again." Rachel smiled. "If there's anything else you need, just call. I'm always happy to help." He looked at her for a second. "Do you like working here?" Rachel hesitated. "I love helping the guests. That part's easy." "And the rest?" She stared at the floor. "Honestly, it's hard. Some of the team doesn't care. And sometimes it feels like being kind makes you the odd one out." "Is Kelsey your manager?" Rachel nodded slowly. "Yeah, she's been here a few months. And she's not the worst, but she doesn't like people. I don't think she realizes that it shows all the time." Wesley thanked her again. That evening, he returned to the lobby. He watched Kelsey brush off another group of guests who had a question about parking. Then he saw something that made his stomach turn. A Hispanic man in his early 30s approached with his wife and daughter. He spoke with an accent. "Hi, we have a reservation for 2 nights." Kelsey looked them up and down. "Where'd you book it?" "Online. Through Hotels Now," the man replied. Kelsey tapped the keyboard without looking at them. "We don't have any rooms available for third-party sites right now. System's down." The man blinked. "But we already paid. You'll have to call them. It's not my problem." "Please," his wife said quietly. "We've been driving for hours," Kelsey raised her voice. "Do you want me to call security?" Wesley pushed himself out of the chair. He wasn't ready to reveal himself yet, but he couldn't stay quiet anymore. He stepped between them. "Excuse me," he said. "I believe I overheard your name is Mr. Alvarez." The man nodded. "I just checked in yesterday. They had rooms then. Let me see if I can help." He turned to Kelsey. "You sure there's nothing available?" Kelsey glared. "Are you seriously interfering?" "Just trying to help," Wesley said calmly. "You seem very busy." Kelsey rolled her eyes and stormed into the back office. Wesley turned to the family. "Hang tight, this will be fixed." His hands were shaking. He hadn't expected it to be this bad, not here, not in one of his hotels. He took the elevator up again, alone this time. But not before catching a glimpse of Rachel rushing over to the family with bottled water and an apology. Wesley stood in the elevator, watching the numbers light up. Tomorrow, he'd end the charade. But tonight, he needed to cool down and figure out exactly what the hell happened to the standards he built this business on. Wesley woke early, his mind still circling the scene from the night before. He didn't sleep much. The image of that family being brushed off and humiliated at the front desk kept running loops in his head. That wasn't just poor service, that was something uglier. By 8, he was dressed and sitting at the small table near the lobby coffee station. The machine sputtered out burnt dark roast. He didn't drink it. He just needed a reason to stay there and observe. Kelsey was back on shift. She leaned against the desk with her phone propped up by the register, earbuds in, scrolling through something while guests passed by unnoticed. Her body language was unreadable, no urgency, no presence. She wasn't just cold, she was detached. Wesley watched a man in dress clothes approach her with his laptop bag slung over one shoulder. "Excuse me," he said politely. "Is there a printer I can use here? I just need to print a boarding pass." Kelsey didn't take out her earbuds. "It's broken," she said, not looking up. "Is there anywhere nearby I could go?" she shrugged. "I don't know, try a FedEx or something." She gestured vaguely toward the street. Wesley set down his coffee cup and stood. He didn't address her yet. He walked past the desk and turned the corner into the hallway labeled Business Center. There was a printer. It wasn't broken. It wasn't even turned off. He walked back out and stood beside the man. "Sorry to interrupt," Wesley said gently, "but there's a printer down that hall." "It's working." The man blinked. "Seriously, she just told me." "I know," Wesley said. "Go ahead, it should be fine." Kelsey finally looked up. "You don't work here," she said sharply. "No, but I've stayed in enough hotels to know what basic service looks like." Kelsey pulled out one earbud. "Are you trying to get involved in things that don't concern you?" Wesley held her gaze. "I'm trying to make sure guests aren't being lied to." She leaned back, arms crossed. Wesley turned and walked away before saying more. He needed to keep gathering information. He wasn't about to lose his temper in the middle of the lobby. Around 9, Rachel came in. She moved quickly, checking in with a housekeeper on her way to the front desk. She took one look at Kelsey and asked, "Did the printer get fixed?" Kelsey didn't answer. She walked off toward the back office. Rachel glanced at Wesley sitting nearby, offered a slight nod, then turned her attention to a guest who had just entered. "Good morning, welcome back," she said warmly to the older woman. "How's your stay so far?" The woman smiled. "Much better today." "Thank you for the extra pillows yesterday," Rachel grinned. "Of course, if you need anything else, just let me know." As the guest walked away, Wesley approached the desk. "You're good at this," he said. Rachel looked up. "Thanks, I try." "Do you handle training here?" She shook her head. "No." "That's all." Kelsey. "Has anyone from corporate been around recently?" Rachel hesitated. Honestly, I've been here almost a year. I've never met anyone above Kelsey. That hit harder than he expected. A whole year, and no leadership presence, not even once. Do you ever get asked how things are going? Like formally, Rachel gave a tired smile. Only if someone complains directly. Otherwise, it's kind of a just survive the shift situation. Wesley nodded slowly. And do you feel like that's sustainable? Rachel laughed under her breath. Not really. A few of us have stuck around because we care, but it's hard to keep morale up when it feels like no one notices. He thanked her and moved to the elevator. He rode up, grabbed his notebook, and wrote a single line, management vacuum, no support. Rachel equals backbone. Then he flipped the page and started mapping out the staff. From what he could gather, there were 5 front desk employees. Kelsey ran the shifts and handled scheduling. Rachel clearly had seniority but no authority. 2 others rotated on night shifts and 1 part-timer filled gaps. Wesley decided to switch tactics. He left the hotel and walked a block north to a small cafe. The barista greeted him with a bright smile. He ordered a tea and asked if anyone from the hotel ever came in. She pointed to a table in the corner. That's where the housekeepers usually sit on their lunch breaks. Wesley waited. Around noon, 2 women in navy polos entered. They looked tired. One rubbed her shoulder as she sat. The other glanced toward the counter and ordered a sandwich. He approached slowly. Sorry to bother you, but I think we're staying at the same hotel. I just checked in yesterday. Wanted to say thank you, my room was spotless. The woman with the shoulder pain looked surprised. Oh, that's nice to hear. You in 412? I am, she smiled. I cleaned it yesterday. Well, you did a great job, Emily, by the way. Deanna, she said, and this is Lilia. Lilia nodded but seemed more guarded. I was just curious, Wesley said. How long have you both worked there? About 2 years for me, Deanna said. 6 months, Lilia added quietly. Is it a good place to work? Deanna shrugged. It depends on the day. We're short a person right now, so it's a lot. Do people stay long? Lilia shook her head. Not usually. Why do you? Deanna hesitated. I need the job and I like the guests. But lately it's been rough. We don't get breaks if we're behind, and if we ask for help we're told to finish faster. Wesley frowned. Who says that? Kelsey, Lilia said without looking up. She's never cleaned a room herself, Deanna added. But she tells us we're too slow. Wesley thanked them and left them in peace. He walked the block back deep in thought. Back at the hotel, Rachel was alone at the desk. Kelsey was nowhere in sight. He approached. Busy day? Rachel nodded. We've got a group checking in later. A youth soccer team, that'll be fun. What happens if you're the only one here? Rachel shrugged. You just do what you can. If something goes wrong, you get blamed. If it goes right, no one notices. Wesley leaned in slightly. Do you want to stay here long term? Rachel blinked. I used to. I like hospitality, but I don't want to work somewhere that makes me feel invisible, he nodded. Thanks for being honest. He stepped away and walked to the elevator. Once inside, he took out his phone. He called his assistant. Clear my calendar tomorrow. I'm staying an extra day. And I need the district manager flown in by morning, quietly. What's going on? She asked. I'll explain later, but make one more call. I need someone from HR here too. Tell them it's not optional. He ended the call. Tomorrow, the mask would come off. And Kelsey wouldn't be there by the end of the day. That decision was already made. Wesley stood in the back hallway outside the guest laundry room, arms crossed, listening to the low murmur of the lobby through the wall. The hallway smelled faintly of lemon cleaner. He had watched Rachel unlock the front desk cabinet at 7 sharp, organizing the shift log and checking the float. Kelsey hadn't arrived yet. At 7:45, the district manager, a tall man in his 40s named Miles, stepped through the front doors. Wesley had met him twice in 3 years. He was competent, but distant, more of a numbers guy than an operator. Wesley called to him quietly from the staff hallway. Miles gave a start, then followed him into the linen storage closet, where 2 folding chairs had been wedged beside a shelf of towels. Why here? Miles asked, brushing lint off his blazer. I need you to see everything before I say anything, Wesley said. You'll stay in the background until I give the word. Miles nodded, uneasy. Understood. By 8, Kelsey walked in. She was holding an iced coffee and wearing dark sunglasses, her name tag askew. She disappeared into the office without acknowledging Rachel. Wesley and Miles moved to a side corridor with a partial view of the desk, staying behind a column. Rachel was assisting an older guest with directions to a local museum. She printed a map and circled the walking route with a pen. Kelsey emerged suddenly and leaned against the desk. "Why are you wasting time with that?" she asked loudly. Rachel looked up. "She asked for help finding the museum." "We're not tour guides," Kelsey said. "If they want maps, they can use their phones." The guest looked uncomfortable. Rachel handed her the paper gently and lowered her voice. "Have a great morning." "You'll love the sculpture garden," she said, ignoring Kelsey. Wesley glanced at Miles, who was already shaking his head. A few minutes later, a young man in a maintenance uniform approached the desk. He was carrying a clipboard and looked nervous. "Hey, just a heads up, room 218 has a leak under the sink. I shut the valve, but I need more time to fix it." Kelsey rolled her eyes. "Why are you telling me this like it's my problem? I just thought you'd want to block it off before check-in." "Do I look like I handle room assignments?" she snapped. The young man turned red. Rachel said to give you a heads up." Kelsey looked at Rachel. "Stay in your lane." Rachel didn't respond. Wesley stepped out from behind the column, walking slowly toward the desk. Miles followed silently. Kelsey looked up. Her face shifted, confused. "Can I help you?" she asked, voice flat. Wesley nodded. "Yeah. I think you can." He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out his company ID. The moment her eyes landed on the name Wesley Grant, her posture changed. "Yes," he said. "I'm the owner." Rachel froze. The maintenance worker backed up instinctively. Wesley's tone never rose. "You've been rude, dismissive, and negligent. I've seen enough. You're done here. Turn in your keycard and leave the property." Kelsey blinked. "What? Wait. I didn't even know. You've been cruel to guests, disrespectful to staff, and dishonest about room availability. I saw it, I heard it. There's no explanation that changes what I witnessed." "I've been doing everything alone," she stammered. "There's no support." Wesley cut her off. "There's no excuse for treating people the way you did. Not here, not anywhere." She stared at him, stunned. For a full 10 seconds, no one moved. Finally, Rachel stepped forward and opened the drawer where the shift keys were kept. She handed the one labeled manager to Wesley. Kelsey grabbed her iced coffee, muttered something under her breath, and walked out without another word. The lobby was silent. Wesley turned to Rachel. "Let's go to the office." Inside, he shut the door, turned to Miles, and said, "Take over the desk for now. Let no one else from the front desk staff clock in until we've talked." Miles nodded and left. Rachel stood by the file cabinet, uncertain. Wesley sat and gestured to the chair across the desk. "Sit." She did. "You've been carrying this place," he said. "That's clear. You've shown patience, kindness, and professionalism under pressure, but that's not sustainable." Rachel exhaled. "I didn't expect this." "Any of it? I can tell," he said. "And I'm sorry it took me this long to come see it for myself." She looked down at her lap. Wesley leaned forward. "Tell me what you need to do your job right, not just to survive it, to do it well." Rachel hesitated. "We need leadership who actually wants to be here. Someone who leads by example, not fear." "Do you want that role?" he asked. She blinked. "Me? You already do the work. I've watched you de-escalate a dozen situations without flinching. You've kept this hotel from falling apart. I don't have management experience. You've got integrity. That comes before experience. We can train around the rest." She sat back slowly. "I'd be willing to try, but only if things change beyond just the title." "They will," he said. "We're restructuring starting today." He briefed her on the plan. Rachel would be promoted to interim front desk supervisor, reporting directly to Miles for now, with a probationary period of 90 days. She'd receive a pay raise, access to training modules, and authority to recommend hires or terminations for her team. Rachel nodded. "That's fair. But I want to be honest, this place has stretched people thin." Deanna in housekeeping has been covering extra rooms for weeks. And maintenance is down to one guy. We'll fix staffing first, he said. I've got HR flying in this afternoon. We're lifting the hiring freeze for this location immediately. She exhaled slowly. That would help more than anything. Wesley stood. Let's meet with the rest of the staff. I want to hear from everyone. Over the next 2 hours, he met with each department in small groups. Deanna and Lilia described the physical toll of cleaning too many rooms without proper equipment. The maintenance tech explained he'd been doing double shifts to cover for an injured coworker who never got replaced. The kitchen attendant, a man named Lewis, revealed he'd been buying cleaning supplies out of pocket because procurement orders were being forgotten. Wesley took notes. He asked questions. He didn't interrupt. At noon, he assembled the whole team in the breakfast area just beyond the lobby. The blinds were drawn against the bright Texas sun. I owe all of you an apology, he began. I built this company to be better than this. And I let distance and reports blind me. That ends today. He laid out what would change. Hiring support was already on the way, with interviews scheduled within the week. A temporary bonus pool was being established to compensate staff who had been working short-handed. A new feedback system would be launched, allowing anonymous reports to go directly to corporate. And most importantly, he promised visibility. Once a month from now on, I'll be showing up unannounced, not to check up, to check in, to listen. The room was quiet for a beat. Then Deanna raised her hand. Can we get better vacuums? She asked. He smiled. Yes, you'll have them by next week. Rachel stood beside him, still stunned but steady. This team deserves better, she said, and we're going to get there together. No one clapped. It wasn't that kind of moment. But people nodded, and for the first time in a long while, they believed her. By the following Tuesday, the Dallas location looked the same from the outside, but inside, the shift had already begun. Wesley didn't leave town. He moved his meetings to a co-working space 3 blocks away and spent the mornings at the hotel without pretense. No disguise, no introductions, just quiet observation. He wore jeans and a plain shirt, sat with his laptop in the breakfast area, and watched the gears of the business turn. Rachel now rotated between the front desk and the back office, building the staff schedule from scratch. She was careful, asking for preferences when she could, but she didn't hesitate to make firm decisions. Wesley noticed how she'd pause before rejecting a request not to please people, but to weigh what was fair. She wasn't trying to be liked. She was trying to be just. Miles stayed in town as well. He met with the new recruits from HR, adjusted the budget to allow for 2 additional front desk hires, and personally contacted a local temp agency to bring in a weekend housekeeper. Every change was tracked. Every promise followed up. Wesley didn't hover, but he didn't vanish either. On Wednesday morning, he brought 2 boxes of breakfast tacos and left them by the break room door. No speech, no announcement, just a small gesture to say, I see you. At 11, Rachel came to find him. I need 5 minutes, she said, her tone direct. He closed his laptop and followed her to the side hallway where the vending machines hummed. Lewis in the kitchen gave notice, she said. Said he wants to finish the week, but he got offered a full-time gig at her retirement center up the road. Better pay, fixed hours. Good for him, Wesley said. She nodded. He told me he felt guilty. I told him not to. Do we have anyone who can step into his spot temporarily? I've been helping with setup in the mornings, but we'll need someone by next week. Wesley leaned against the wall. I'll check with the Austin location. One of their kitchen aides is part-time. Maybe they'd be open to a temporary transfer. Rachel crossed her arms. Also, Lilia told me she's been skipping lunch to finish her rooms. Why didn't she say that in the meeting? She didn't want to sound like she was complaining. Wesley ran a hand across his jaw. We'll need to bring in another part-time housekeeper, not just the temp. I already wrote up the posting. He glanced at her. You're doing this job like you've been doing it for years. Rachel looked away. I'm trying not to fall behind. You're doing more than that. She didn't respond. Back at the front desk, A new hire named Marcus was shadowing Rachel. He was in his early 20s, soft-spoken and meticulous. Wesley watched him check in a mother and daughter with a quiet professionalism that impressed him. Later that afternoon, Wesley sat with Marcus in the break room. "How's the training going?" he asked. Marcus straightened. "She's patient, explains everything once and then has you do it yourself, makes you feel like she believes you can. You worked in hotels before, 2 internships. But this is my first full-time role." "What made you apply here?" Marcus hesitated. "Honestly, I almost didn't. I read the reviews, but something told me to give it a shot." "And now," Marcus smiled slightly, "feels like I got lucky." It was a quiet statement, but it meant more than he knew. On Thursday morning, Wesley called a meeting in the back office. Rachel, Miles, and the 2 HR reps sat around the small table, a whiteboard propped up behind them. "We've stabilized the urgent issues," Wesley began. "Now we need to talk about the next 90 days. Rachel sat upright, a pen in hand. "We'll roll out the new feedback system across all locations by the end of the month," Miles said, "but I want to pilot it here first." Wesley nodded, "And we need a plan for leadership development." "Rachel can't carry this alone." "I agree," she said. "Marcus shows potential and Diana's got the respect of the housekeeping team." "Would she step into a lead role?" Wesley asked. "I think she'd consider it if she knew it came with real support and a raise." "She'll have both," he said. "We'll structure a training track for her." Miles added, "We also need to revisit supply procurement. Lilia's still using hand-me-down carts." "We'll approve replacements today," Wesley said. "No more delays." He turned to Rachel. "Anything else?" She looked at the table for a moment. "People are afraid to speak up, not just here, everywhere. If we want this place to hold together, we need to rebuild trust." Wesley nodded once. "Then we start with transparency. You'll have access to monthly performance metrics, not just numbers, guest feedback, turnover rates, supply orders. If something's off, you flag it, immediately." Rachel tapped her pen against the table. "Fair." The meeting ended without ceremony. Everyone had work to do. That evening, Wesley sat outside on a bench near the side entrance, watching the last rays of sun stretch across the concrete. He saw Deanna exit through the staff door, rubbing her lower back. She didn't see him. He called out, "Deanna?" She turned, startled. He stood. "I heard you've been carrying more than your fair share." She looked wary at first. "I'm used to it." "You shouldn't have to be." She folded her arms. "Is that going to change?" "Yes," he said. "But it starts with the right people stepping up. Rachel wants you to lead the housekeeping team with training, with better tools, with authority." Deanna tilted her head. "Why now?" "Because I finally saw what's happening. And now I can't unsee it." She studied him. "All right, I'll try, but if I don't like how it's handled, I'm not staying quiet." "Good," he said. "I hope you don't." She turned and walked to the parking lot, slow but steady. The next morning, Wesley packed his bag. He didn't check out. He left the key at the desk with Marcus, who already had the phones under control. Rachel appeared from the back in a navy blouse and slacks he hadn't seen her wear before. "I figured you were leaving today," she said. "I am, but I'll be back." She nodded. When no one's expecting it," she smiled faintly. "You think I'll be surprised? Maybe, but I hope you won't have to be ready for a fight next time." Rachel looked at the lobby where a couple was laughing quietly over coffee. "I think we'll be all right," she said. "We've still got gaps. But people want to be here now. That counts for something, more than you know." He shook her hand, firm, no hesitation. As he stepped onto the sidewalk, Wesley glanced back once. Rachel was already moving, adjusting a reservation, checking a printer, passing notes to Marcus. No applause. No ceremony, just people doing work that mattered. The way it should have been all along.